Morning all. I'd like to show you a fascinating encounter this morning in brief commentary format between Fischer and Fine in 1963. I believe this might have been played as a casual game at the Manhattan Chess Club in New York. In 1963, Fischer and Fine played actually 5 games according to ChessGames.com. So these are like blitz and casual game encounters. Reuben Fine, as many of you know from the channel, he was in Nottingham 1936 tournament. He formed part of the US contingent, him and Samuel Rzewski. And it seems Reuben Fine, he has a very impressive track record, especially in the US Open Championship. All 7 times he played in it, he won it. But when the US Championship became an invitational, well, at the same time, from 1937, I think, just checking, US Invitational tournaments, from 1936, it was just Rzewski that was dominating. I think Reuben Fine was behind Rzewski. He never quite won that one. But as far as the Open Championship, the US Open Championship, he was winning that every time he played. And in Nottingham 1936, Reuben Fine and Rzewski scored 9.5. So they scored the same. But then in the Avro tournament of 1938, before World War II, Reuben Fine was joined with Paul Kaz. So he was like in his time, he was a legitimate challenger to become a world champion. But he took up a career in psychology. He kind of left the game. But it's really interesting that there's these encounters with Fischer. I would recommend Wiki if you want to read up more on Reuben Fine. But in this particular year, let's see, this casual game encounter, which was recorded by maybe an observer, two greats playing, was somehow recorded. So Fischer playing Fine, 1963. So e4, e5. Fischer playing white, knight f3, knight c6. And now what looks to be like potentially a very stodgy system, bishop c4, if white follows up with knight c3. So we see bishop c5. But instead of that stodge, which Exeter Chess Club has named Old Stodge, you can actually play a gambit here and create open lines and what I'd call access paths, and this will be ideal actually for a chess cube war zone, this next move. It's b4. It's known as the Evans Gambit, named after the Welsh sea captain William Davies Evans, who was the first person to have employed it, apparently. So, okay, so Fischer's playing this gambit. The pawn is taken, and now we see c3. So various ideas of this gambit to construct the centre quickly, potentially use this diagonal if the bishop comes off there. So that's some of the main ideas. Also there's queen b3 targeting f7. So it's got a lot of dangers. It's very exciting to play, I think. Bishop a5 was played, and now we see d4. Even though this pawn's pinned, so it looks as though ed and white's inconvenienced with this pin. So it looks as though, you know, bishop a5 was designed against d4, but it's played anyway. E takes d4, and white just casually castles now, so 2 pawns down. And this starts to get a little bit dangerous here for black now, especially in this game continuation. D takes c3, winning a 3rd pawn, queen b3, and black in theory should play in this position queen f6 to hold on to this c3 pawn. In this casual game, Reuben Fine played queen e7. Okay, and the problem with queen e7 is that white is going to play now knight takes c3, and that knight could be a menace. So white plays knight takes c3. It's a menace because it's now threatening knight d5. At least with the queen f6 lines, the queen could sometimes go to g6 and looking down at white's king, and we have some very interesting romantic era games in this variation. But here, this is now quite dangerous with knight d5 on the cards, even if black plays what he does, which is knight f6. I mean, there's other alternatives, but does black really want to give up the bishop pair? And there's also bishop a3 dangerous potentially with e5 as well. So white's got intense pressure here. This is now a very, very dangerous situation where, okay, white's 2 pawns down here. 2 pawns down, yep. But after knight f6, you can see there's so many dangers here. White plays knight d5, knight takes d5, e takes d5. So can black get away with this just because knight e5 makes it impossible for rook e1 here, because then knight takes f3 check. Well, rook e1, there's the bishop's on it anyway. But all Fischer plays here is he just takes on e5 actually. After queen takes e5, white's got a really strong position now. He connects rooks very, very quickly. Look at all of black's pieces. They're left at home here. So white can potentially do an exchange sack for this file. The bishop's eyeing that e1. The queen goes to g5. And here actually I think there is a strong move which wasn't played, which is very strong, as well as the game continuation. Queen a3 might actually be really, really strong, trying to drive the bishop away from e1 and rook e1 just to get the king into an awkward place with d8. But some of the similar ideas in the game continuation occurred anyway. White plays now h4, trying to lure the queen away from g7. So this is really quite annoying. Okay, so also of course e7 might be sensitive as well. But okay, so queen takes h4, and we see this bishop takes g7, and black's clearly not going to castle kingside now. Rook g8, and despite the bishop being here, white can safely sacrifice the exchange with rook f e1 check. The king goes to d8, and it's pretty awkward. Black didn't even bother taking that. There's no point. And now a really crushing move from Fischer. I wonder if you can guess it. If I give you 10 seconds starting from now, so test your tactics. What would you play in this position? 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, I hope you got it. I'll give you a clue. You want to lure the queen away from this diagonal so that bishop f6 is possible. Queen g3, queen g3. It's a real crusher. Yeah, the queen's loose. Bishop f6 is on the cards here. So if queen takes g3 was played, well, black actually resigned here. Then bishop f6 is mate. There's not much really black can do here. We can do a quick engine check for those technically interested. Queen e7 has given us one of the best moves. That's how bad the situation is. So we can just take the queen there. It's pretty nasty. So yeah, but it was, to be fair to Fight, he was a world-class player, but he had retired. He was a psychologist, and this game appeared in Fischer's memorable games book. So obviously it was quite memorable even to Fischer. This casual game, which I suspect was just recorded by an observer in the chess club, Manhattan Chess Club. So they had a few encounters that year, 1963, and this was one of them. One of the more memorable ones for Fischer anyway. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.